Welcome to another episode of the brand called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a successful wellness entrepreneur from California, USA, Mr. Lucas Vegvary. Lucas, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ashutosh. It's
Thank
a
you.
pleasure to be here with you,
Thank
and
you.
I'm very grateful for you having me on. Uh, it's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Lucas is the founder and chief executive officer of My Custom Sleep Journey. So, Lucas, before we talk about my custom sleep journey, a few questions for you. Your story is incredibly powerful. Can you walk us through the turning point that made you take control of your own health when you were just 18?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I grew up in a household that had a lot of traditional processed food as kind of a staple in the diet, and I know that this is extremely traditional right now
Mhm.
with what's going on in the world. And so, to be honest with you, I would say the biggest thing was emotion, is actually getting a strong emotional understanding of where I standed and
Mhm.
where I really needed to make the changes. And so, if you don't have that drive, then it's almost impossible to get over it. And so, you have to reach almost a breaking point
Right.
in order to get to that point. And that's where a lot of our clients also get to that point to where
Mm.
they say enough is enough and I cannot live the way that I'm living right now anymore.
Mm. Okay. Okay.
And
And
so,
how did dealing with multiple conditions like ADHD, bipolar disorder, asthma, and obesity shape your perspective on wellness?
um, I had to start seeing the body as a whole in order to start moving past these points.
Yeah.
I had to start doing quite a bit of cleansing of my system. And so
Hmm.
I worked with sauna. I worked with starting to get my cardiovascular energy back together. And so I think that it's a balanced approach. You have to treat the body as a whole being rather than trying to treat these separate conditions. And
Mm.
so that's where your Ayurvedic approach and holistic nature is really
Mm.
important for me as
Mm.
well.
Very interesting. And what mindset shifts were most important for you in moving from a health crisis to building resilience with purpose?
Um, I'd say that is going from a victim mentality over to taking full ownership of the different factors that were going on in my life because I was putting the blame on other factors outside of
Mm.
myself. And in order to take full responsibility for what's going on in your life
Hmm.
is really the only way that you're going to make permanent changes in your life because we can continue to blame everybody in our life for the problems that are going on and
Mm.
really get nowhere. And so, yeah, that was a major, major
Yeah,
turning
yeah,
point for
yeah.
me.
What a great response. Thank you. Lucas,
Thank
let's
you.
now talk about my custom sleep journey. What was the inspiration to create my custom sleep journey? And why did you focus specifically on night shift medical professionals?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I believe that there's a major health crisis going
Hmm.
on with night shift medical practitioners that's not really focused on. And these individuals are struggling and they're going through a lot of pain in a lot of different areas.
Mm.
And the fact that there's around a 60% burnout rate
Mm.
typically in this industry, it's a very drastic issue. And so when somebody's been up for 12 hours and they're working consistently, there's about a 30% increase in potential accidents with the clients that they're working with.
Mm. Mm.
And so when a surgeon is working on somebody and they've been up for that long and they're on the wrong diet and they have the wrong conditions put together for them, it's
Mm.
extremely dangerous both for the client and for the medical practitioner as well.
Mm.
And so
Mm.
we saw a, major gap as far as them being taken care of in a healthy way. And so we put
Mm.
together a system to be able to help them with this.
Mm. Can you give me an example of some of the challenges a lot of these night shift medical professionals face?
hmm Yeah. So a lot of the time it's they're either taking in too much caffeine and they're completely
Mm.
blunted from the effects of it, and it's also affecting their sleep, so they're not getting the recovery. and they're eating extremely high processed diets where it's making their energy levels crash. It's causing massive insulin spikes that are similar to a diabetic's
Mm-hmm.
insulin spikes. And when you crash from that,
Mm.
it's a whole nother issue that you're going through, and it causes long-term systemic issues physically and in a it's a major health crisis for
Mm.
majority of these individuals.
Very
So yeah,
interesting.
that's where
Yeah,
we're working from.
fascinating. And how does your startup personalize wellness strategies for such a high stress, unpredictable profession?
Yeah, so we work with personalized coaching, where our coaches they're trained specifically on all of the data points of our program, and they work with these individuals personally one on one. And
Mm.
so it's a very personal experience that they're getting, and so it becomes something where they're we're taking in all of their custom data points about
Mm.
their lifestyle and about their specific situation, and we help
Mm.
to customize the program specifically to them. And we also have a tracking app that's able to track all the different data as they go through the program so that we can very clearly define where they're at in the program and where they
Mm.
need to make improvements in the program.
Mm. Interesting. And how do you ensure your approach remains evidence-based while still being holistic and personalized?
Absolutely. And so, yeah, everything from the very beginning has been taken from a holistic as well as a science-based protocol. And so we've looked at a lot of the different studies that were major studies out there on different supplements, for example,
Mm.
of the best way to take them and what's actually necessary for the human biology to really thrive. And it's a lot of people aren't able to get the necessary nutrition that they need through their diet,
Mm.
and especially when they're in like a major city, like it's a little bit they're a little under taught about
Mm.
nutrition in a lot of cases. And so, yeah, we help to rebalance that. And we also use biometric data.
Mhm.
So our program uses what's called the Aura Ring, which tracks sleep data and specific biomarkers so that we can actually see where they're struggling at specifically, what's raising their
Mm.
heart rate variability to uneven levels, and where their heart rate's
Mm.
going
Mm.
in a bad direction. And so we're able to kind of catch it at different points and help them to get a more balanced approach
Mm.
as they move forward the next time so that they
Mm.
can correct what they've done
Mm.
incorrectly that time. So, yeah,
Mm.
it's all learning.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. But tell me, what are some of the biggest misconceptions about sleep, debt, and recovery among medical professionals?
Yeah, so I would say that you can just drive through the fatigue using caffeine and willpower,
Mm.
and that you can ignore sleep debt, and
Mm.
that it's something that you can just use pharmaceuticals to be able to push through.
Mm.
And it's something that can be extremely dangerous
Yeah.
to the physiology, and it ages you quickly,
Mm. Mm.
is what it does. And so, the more that we put a tax on our system and not really get that peace of mind.
Mm.
And I know that you have a lot of background in meditation, and I heard you
Um,
talking
I
about
do, and I
Vipassana.
also I've also been spent a long time in healthcare. I was on the board
Hmm.
of Gavi. Currently sit on the board of India's second largest cancer hospital. So everything you're saying makes a lot of sense to me. But carry on. You were telling me about some of the misconceptions.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So, this individual is thinking that they can't take and they don't need to take care of themselves
Mm.
in an optimized way. And it can be difficult
Mm.
for them to really know what those ways are unless they're
Yeah,
guided. They
yeah.
have a clear map in front of them.
Mm.
And so that's what
Mm.
we do is we provide the clarity for them.
Yeah, yeah. So, you were telling me a little few minutes back about the abuse of caffeine.
Hmm.
How do you help your clients to optimize caffeine use rather than abuse it?
Absolutely. Yeah. So caffeine use is a lot of the time they're taking in a dirty source of
Mm.
caffeine. And
Mm.
so it's like eating organic foods. Uh, I think and coffee is the second most high in pesticides next to chocolate. from
Mm.
my understanding. And so, being able to make sure that you're not taking in super large doses of pesticides with your
Mm-hmm.
food or is actually pretty critical. So we make sure that they have a clean source of that
Mm.
and that they're not taking it too close to bedtime. And so we slowly start to wean them back from where
Right.
they would normally be in their bedtime because a lot of people are taking it up to a couple hours before their bedtime.
Mm.
And if even if they're not really getting the full amped up effect of it, their adenosine receptors are affected by it. And so it's keeping them awake and they're wired and they're tired. And so that's what we do is we slowly step them back about an hour per week, depending on the situation. Everybody's a little bit different, but
Mm.
yeah, that's typically how we go about that.
Interesting. And for my viewers and listeners, Lucas, can you break down some of the key components of your customized wellness plans?
Yeah, absolutely. And so we have what's called the five key pillars. And so we have nutrition, which is their overall diet, the way that they're
Mm.
able to eat, and how we can bring a balanced approach that's to the best possible, as the best possible resource for a night shift individual.
Mm.
And then we provide supplements. That's the second key pillar. And so we make sure that they have a balanced supplement routine, which is in alignment with their system. We very carefully bring these supplements into their lives
Mm.
so that we can mitigate the most side effects that are possible. And this is a very delicate issue because
Yeah.
everybody's body is so different. And then we have exercise.
Mm-hmm.
And so the exercise is used to improve metabolic fitness as well as circulation and overall strength in the system. So
Mm.
having a strong body and having a habit that increases bone density as well as muscle tone is
Mm.
extremely important in this day and age when people need to be on their feet, especially for 12
Right.
hours straight. And
Right.
then we have caffeine intake and timing, which we've already discussed a little bit
Mm.
about, and
Mm.
that this assures that they're able to have sustainability long
Mm.
term. And then, of course, mindset and hypnosis is like the final key pillar. And so this is one of the capstones on our program. And so it affects the subconscious mind, which is similar to any kind of messages that you're saying to yourself on a regular
Right.
basis, the way
Right.
that you feel about things. And so that's what we do is we give them a hypnosis process
Mm.
at the end of each night, and it's associated with each of the 2 week segments of our educational program.
Very interesting. And since you just spoke about hypnosis, what
Mhm.
role does hypnosis play in building stress resilience, and how do your clients typically respond to it?
Absolutely. Yeah, so the hypnosis plays a really critical role in the way that they emotionalize these different subject matters
Right.
because you view it in a negative way. Like if you hate exercise, for example, and you say you were brought up in a household that didn't do that, and
Mm.
you've been exposed to this energy for so long, it's a situation where we have to retrain the mind to
Mm.
be able to, like, this is something that's good for me, and I understand that it's going to make me happy, it's going to give me energy, it's going to make me strong. And it's the same thing with all of the other key pillars. We very
Mm.
carefully dissect each of these key pillars and make it so that it's more palatable to the
Right.
client so that they can get the best out of our program and
Mm.
not have to be physically bulldozed into the program, but be
Mm.
very happy and willing and excited for the changes to come.
Mm. And are there any emerging technologies or tools that you're particularly excited about that you want to be able to incorporate into your services?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're already using the Aura Ring and the Apollo Neuro, which
Mm-hmm.
the Apollo Neuro works with different frequencies. Like, for
Mm.
example, right now I'm using a frequency called Socialize. And so what it does is it puts you in an uplifted mood. It gives you some nice energy so that you can
Mm.
be able to be nice and social with somebody in a good way. And then it
Mm.
also has a sleeping uh, mechanism in it where if you wake up in the middle of the night, the Aura Ring senses that and it sends a signal to this Apollo Neuro and it says, okay, Lucas is awake. It's time for him to go back to sleep.
Mm.
And on average, I get an extra 30 minutes of sleep during the night from this. And so
Mm.
it tracks that as well. And so that's something that we're very excited about. Continuous glucose monitors would, of course,
Mm.
be like the gold standard
Yeah.
to work with. And that's our goal is to be able to start to incorporate medical practitioners
Mhm.
directly into our company and be more of a holistic wellness, functional medicine type of
Mm.
company eventually. Right now, we're general wellness,
Mhm.
but if we can become functional medicine, then we can start analyzing the data from these continuous glucose monitors, which would
Right.
be ultimate dream.
Absolutely. I agree. I agree. And whenever you're ready, let me know because I'm diabetic myself. Um,
Yeah.
um, moving on, how do you integrate nutrition, supplements, and movement and sleep coaching into one cohesive program?
Yeah, it's been quite the journey. It's actually taken us almost 3 years
Mm.
to put this program together. And so we've gone through four different variations of the app, four different levels. And so we found ways to track each one of these biomarkers and to be able to send custom notifications to the client so
Mm.
that we can give them clean reminders of when it's time to take their supplements. And they check the box and they say, okay, I've taken my supplements. And so it goes into an algorithm and it's able to give them a grade so that they
Right.
currently aware, like in a tangible way, where they stand on that
Mm.
process. And so yeah, it brings together almost like a school system when they're able to look at it from an outside perspective from their dashboard, and it gives them real clarity of where they're
Yeah.
at in each of the subjects.
Amazing. How do the improved health outcomes of your clients impact their professional performance and personal lives? And if possible, give me an example without giving any names, of course.
Of course. Yeah, so okay, so I'll give you an example. We'll call her Nurse Jane.
Mm-hmm.
So Jane was married. She had kids. She was also a ER nurse, and so she had gotten a couple of warnings because she had a few slip ups because she was so fatigued. She was starting to
Mm-hmm.
make accidents at work, and she got desperate and she finally came to us and started working with us. Her energy levels started going up as she started to make changes in the diet and started exercising. And she was really worried that she was going to get like fatigued from extra
Mm-hmm.
exercise. But as you start to move your body and improve circulation,
Yeah.
it just changes your whole biology
Mm-hmm.
overall. And so she was able to go home and spend time with her kids and have like a connection again with them and be able to share love and like this deep emotional bond with her husband.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we hope to do is to bring this cohesion back to their lives and
Mm-hmm.
bring them back to who they are, like in their soul, and reconnect them with that. So
Mm-hmm.
it's so important to us that they're able to
Yeah.
achieve that connection again.
Very interesting. I have time for two more questions for you, Lucas. What resistance or skepticism have you encountered from clients when you try and introduce holistic strategies to them?
Absolutely. So I would say the biggest resistance was probably to diet.
Mm.
A lot of individuals are absolutely terrified to go on any kind of a diet, especially
Mm.
something that's semi-restrictive. And our main goal is to make sure that they're satiated and make sure that they understand their hunger cues are
Mm.
that they realize that they've reached a satiation point.
Mm.
And so that's what we do is we provide them with easy to prep and meal preps. It speeds up the whole process of them being able to eat and to be able to have a clean diet in
Mm.
general, and not have to have the confusion of worrying about what they're going to eat. If are they going to eat hospital food, or are they going to get pickup? It makes it clean and easy for them. And so that was
Mm.
one of the main issues that people bring up.
Very, very interesting. And my last question for you, can you share a transformation story that truly captures the mission of my custom sleep tomorrow, or my custom sleep journey?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I'll give you kind of a synopsis of where a lot of people are at when they come into this process. And
Mm.
so a lot of people, they just have an incredible amount of sleep debt when they originally come to us, and they aren't exercising. They usually have at least an extra 25, 30 pounds minimum on them.
Mm.
And so when they start to move their body and they start to believe in themselves again,
Mm.
and
Mm.
they start to have their family believe in them as being parts of a cohesive unit once more, it changes the way that they look at life.
Mm.
And this is something that we're getting to see over and over again, is that people have a more positive attitude towards
Yeah,
life, and they have hope in like a positive future, and they want to do the best for everyone.
correct.
Yeah, so that's pretty much
Mm.
where we're at for that.
Fascinating. But on that note, Lucas, I just want to say thank you so much for an amazing conversation. We've always known a lot of people are sleep deprived, a lot of people work late nights, a lot of people have stresses, but you seem to have come up with an absolutely fascinating solution through your organization, My Custom Sleep Journey, for night shift medical professionals. And I'm sure anybody else who's going to listen to our conversation is a potential customer for you, because they could use a lot of your own skills for anyone who's sleep deprived and who's facing a lot of stress. Thank you for speaking to me, and good luck to you.
Thank you so much, Ashutosh. I truly appreciate you, and keep doing what you're doing. It's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.